Ben Gretsch, how many words do you think you have written about our chances in the FFPC Playoff Challenge in Discord, Twitter DM, everything combined?
10,000.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I haven't even gotten to catch up on the Discord chat, but every time I log in, it's Ben going through every possible scenario of how we could win $500,000.
Hey, Leone was with me at first, and Pat definitely gets down on some of the more hypotheticals. But yes, I've been off on my own, just going lately. You guys are in Top Shot world. I mean, I got to talk to myself.
Well, the over-under, we hit the under on how long it would take to mention that.
Brian said it right away. If the word Top Shot is mentioned, this might be the final nail of the coffin. I really didn't want to. Let's talk about how we are. Okay, do we have a great chance? No. But are we live to win $500,000? Yes.
Absolutely.
We're live. Yeah, so just to back up.
Yeah, tell people what's going on.
We have a team in the FFPC Playoff Challenge that it's got Travis Kelce.
I'll pull it up. What team is it, Pat?
And Mike Evans. It's number 12, FFPC 12, I think. And unfortunately, we had a lot of DK Metcalf and Cam Akers teams, but this was just a Cam Akers team. It did not have DK Metcalf. It had Allen Robinson. And then Ben was pointing out that we only had one J.K. Dobbins team in the entire portfolio. It just so happened to be this team instead of a Marquise Brown team. A lot of times when we were off Andrews, we were on Marquise Brown. And this is the one case where we had J.K. Dobbins instead. So that was a bummer because those two decisions put us in a position where we really need Mike Evans to outscore Tom Brady by a somewhat unrealistic margin, and he needs to outscore Chris Godwin. So we basically need like an Antonio Brown trick play to Mike Evans.
Yeah, so we get 2x in the Super Bowl. We're down like 20 points or whatever. We need I think it's 21. We need Mike Evans to outscore Tom Brady by 10.5 points or 10.4. The Marquise Brown J.K. Dobbins thing would have been another 9.3 points or something like that, which would have been really nice. It would have been a lot easier for Evans to outscore Brady by a margin of like 5 or 6 points as opposed to 10.5, which is pretty tough to do.
And the Leone asked Sean Corner what our odds were. He said he puts it around 4% chance. Week 2 and week 16, he came pretty close to pulling it off. The Super Bowl makes it a bit more likely we see a trick play where a player like AB gets a pass attempt. That's one of the few paths he has to get there. And then as Aaron Jones says, or injury. So,
but it's interesting. It is interesting because you would like to have the quarterback in the Super Bowl, obviously. And Brady right now is in all of the top lineups. And he hasn't even played in the Super Bowl yet. But it is interesting that we're live with a team that only has Josh Allen. I think that's a really we've done obviously a lot of shows kind of breaking down the competition and how it works. Mahomes isn't going to be in any top lineups because Kelsey's been so good. He's so clearly the top tight end. And so we have this out where Josh Allen's our QB. Josh Allen's the only other QB in the whole contest that had 3 games. And he had enough of a lead over Diggs in that conference championship game, a little bit decent one, that gives us this out where Allen could be our QB, even though he doesn't play in the Super Bowl, as long as Evans has a really huge Super Bowl. It's probably not going to happen, but it is possible.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing that kind of hurts is, part of the path to getting there is with a huge PPR day, that racking up those points, and Evans is more of the big play receiver. You count on him to get those touchdowns, the 40-yard catches down the field. So the paths are more thin, but I just want it on the record. We do have a greater than 1% chance at winning 500,000. I mean, I said this in our Discord chat. If you do the math, if we have a 4% chance and it's a $500,000 top prize, the expected value of our team is $20,000. I'm willing to hear offers. I don't know about you guys.
I'd take offers.
Yeah, I would too. It feels thin, but it'll be interesting for sure. Like we could get into one of the bet. Like it's another lopsided payout structure, but we could get into one of the higher spots if Evans only outscores him by like 7 points, which is still not really that likely.
What would you not take for this team?
Like a buyout?
Yeah, what if we were offered $8,000?
So then I think for that discussion, we actually have to go look at the prizes, right?
Yeah.
Because where do we think we're actually going to end up finishing? Or if we just get, say, a normal outcome, median projection for Brady and Evans, where do we finish in here?
Pretty far back because there's so many Brady teams ahead of us. It's an interesting thing where we're in 40th, but Brady, I think any kind of median outcome, Brady probably extends over Evans, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying, Ben, you think we might drop even out of like 150th in that scenario?
We could.
There's also Godwin teams too. So if things kind of go wrong with Brady and Godwin.
Yeah.
Okay, Pat. So yeah, where is my number there?
I think I'd take 8,000.
8,000 is a pretty good number. I might even take 5,000.
I would not take 5,000.
I don't think I'd take 5 either.
That's like you're buy like EV. Maybe that's like a smart move just to lock it in. But like, could you imagine buying out for $1,000? Once we split it all up, you're getting $1,000. Like it's not 5,000 to Pete Overzet.
That's true. Pat, how many top shots are you buying if we win $500,000?
That's none of your goddamn business. You have to look it up on the blockchain, Pete.
That is the thing. I mean,
I'll be DMing Jack. I'll tell you that.
It's all about framing, right? It's all about perspective. If you went into, I know a million maker is $1 million, not 500,000, but if you went in and said you had, a 4% chance at winning the Millie Maker or winning $500,000 in the Millie Maker, you'd be pretty damn excited because the true odds of you winning that, even if you think you have an edge, are so small. Like having 4% is still a pretty sick chance. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Oh, there's outs.
So it's like you can't be waiting to bought off for $1,000.
It is. We were talking about this, but it's pretty wild. But the nut outcome is obviously a Brady injury, and like that would be insane. Tom Brady getting hurt in a Super Bowl, maybe in his last Super Bowl, but it's not possible. I mean, it's obviously possible. Yeah. Injuries happen.
Although I'm not
going to root for it, but if it happens, then Mike Evans can beat him by 10 points.
Well, that's true. That's true. And he still also needs to beat out Godwin. It gets a little shaky because Blaine Gabbert's so bad that now we're like rooting for Blaine Gabbert to get Mike Evans the rest of the way there and not Chris Godwin. So that's
you know how people do who did he throw to in that, in those 12 pass attempts that he was in? Who the backup QB was in there for 12 pass attempts last week. Who was he throwing to?
Greg,
well, Blaine Gabbert threw 2 touchdowns this year.
5,000 words about in the Discord.
Blaine Gabbert threw 2 touchdowns this year, and one of them went to Mike Evans. At least one, maybe both.
That's 50%, dude.
So, because Kelsey put up such massive numbers, are there any Chiefs that are remotely threats? Like, if Tyreek Hill did what he did against the Bucs earlier in the season, could those teams leapfrog, or has Kelsey just been that dominant?
It's hard. I was starting to add up the total points. I don't think I got through all of it, but Kelsey, I believe, I have this update. Kelsey has 72 points right now. I don't have Dawson Knox in there, but he was in 0.0% of lineups, rounded down. He was in like 5 lineups. Tunyon was in a few. Don't think he had a great conference championship. I can't remember. He scored. Anyway, he had 12 in the first game, so he probably finished just shy of 30. I don't know, 25, something like that. Tampa Bay has no tight end presence. So Tunyon might be the second best tight end at 25. Austin Hooper had 22. Doyle had 20. Kelsey's at 72. Kelsey would have to get like shut out, and he'd still win by 50. The math can still work out where like it would make sense to not have Kelsey, but essentially he's getting 2 times for everything that he catches in this game. He's gonna have like a 90-point edge over all the other tight ends.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
I mean, if Mahomes just absolutely goes off, are there any Mahomes, Tunyon teams, or I guess maybe you do like a Mahomes Logan Thomas or something like that, where you just basically burn tight end, but you nailed everything in your flexes. I wonder if something like that's lurking out there.
It could be. Yeah, I think so.
So that, folks, is the sweat that Ship Chasing has for the Super Bowl. I'm sure we will check in on our odds again next week. But if Brady, if he decided he maybe in an unprecedented move wanted to retire before the Super Bowl,
before the Super Bowl,
if Brady retires before the Super Bowl, what are our odds then?
Like
Still not
55%.
I don't even know if they are because I think the guy in second has Godwin. So we do have to beat Godwin by like 10. The reason I've been kind of ignoring that is
we have to beat Godwin by 10.
Like 9 and Brady by 10 and a half.
I thought we just had to beat Godwin.
But the thing is if I see the scenario where it's like if all of them are healthy and Evans outscores Brady, he's obviously going to outscore Godwin. But if Brady were out, it's no sure thing that he also outscores. Okay, so hear me out. Tom Brady and Chris Godwin decide that they want to dedicate their life to feeding the poor in India. And they say the way for this to make the most social and cultural impact is to joint retire before the Super Bowl.
Hours before the Super Bowl,
Because we can't have anyone else coming in there. What are our odds then?
Well, if we were at 4%, now we're at 4.00001%.
No, I mean, if Godwin and Brady retire, I mean, they should probably just send us the check in the helmet.
They should just send us the check.
Yeah.
You won't be able to buy us off at that point. So if you want to buy us off, submit your offers now.
Then we need Evans to score 10.5 is all, I think. Right?
Oh,
God. Could you imagine?
Blaine Gabbert, can you imagine having to sweat 10.5 points with Evans and Blaine Gabbert? I couldn't do it.
That's a harder sweat. That's a harder sweat.
That's a brutal sweat.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
you can catch 4 for 50 and we'd lose.
All right, don't retire, Tom.
That one I'm taking the expected value buyout at about $275,000. Oh my goodness. All right. So there it is. We won't belabor this too much. We have a little bit. Actually, we did belabor it a very good amount.
Yeah,
I went down to the most extreme scenario. So I apologize for belaboring it. Let's talk about this draft we did because last time we talked, we had just registered. We were making a few of our picks on air. And now we have wrapped up our first best ball draft. I don't know if you guys saw, but Ben sent out a post today recapping the draft. And we are going to pull that up, see how it shook out. I'm going to learn about players we drafted. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about how this went.
Well, at that point, like you just...
I thought... The way you did that, the way you kind of vamped to that, it vamped to like the thing was going to pop up. We were, I think, sort of lulled into
I was
thinking that now the draft board would be there. And then when it wasn't, we were just like, oh, what did we do now?
I was fighting back instincts to go and see if Top Shot was back up.
He definitely clicked on Top Shot.
God damn it, Pete. Pete, you're like literally driving the car here and you're checking your phone. See if your Top Shots came through. And now we've crashed.
I gotta complete this challenge, man.
And now we've crashed. Oh my God.
We were drafting out of the 7 hole. We famously, I feel like we took some shit for this in some of our ship chasing chats here for going 2 running backs early. It was like we abandoned the brand.
Yeah, which is, kind of funny. I know everyone's kind of just having a chuckle, but we're doing a hyper fragile strategy here, which is, quite successful in best ball. We don't have managed waivers here, so got to take the running backs at some point. I was really happy to get Swift and Gibson because after Gibson and Miles Sanders, it gets pretty tough to trust those guys in a hyper fragile build like this far out. You just don't really feel that comfortable with Chris Carson. Javonte Williams, who knows where he gets drafted or by whom. Kenyon Drake, we don't even know if he's going to be at the Cardinals. So it gets really, really iffy at running back quickly in this part of the offseason.
Ben, you were the one that spilled the ink on this. What were kind of your overall takeaways? And then we can kind of get into some of the specifics here about how this draft went.
Well, I like the draft. I mean, I think my biggest takeaway is we didn't go receiver early, in part because we felt confident. We were looking at some other draft boards that had already been going. Leone and Justin Herzig were doing one. And we felt pretty confident in the wide receiver values that we could build a pretty good wide receiver core. And I think we did that. I mean, you can quibble with DJ Moore as the number 1, but when you get down to like Ayuk as the number 4 and Parker as the number 5 in the 10th round is just like ridiculous. I know Pat was doing cartwheels about Rashad Bateman as our number 6. He's like going to be one of the top wide receivers in this class. We were talking about this last week. I think he's one of the guys we were watching highlights of. Maybe I can't recall.
Yeah, he's the one with the sick one-handed catch.
Right.
He looks like a stud.
So
the only thing I was talking to Davis about Bateman, and he was making a good point that with pretty much all of these prospects, we have limited sample size from 2020. And so a lot of the numbers are going to be overly confident or potentially overly negative on some of these guys. It's just going to skew things in a way we're not really used to seeing. So Bateman just looks like really, really strong prospect.
Because of the year before, right? Like he was already younger.
Right. And that's why I do think with Bateman we can still feel pretty confident, because in every, in his career he's been really, really strong. And his career is only 3 years. He's a true underclassman, and he's playing alongside Tyler Johnson in 2019. Tyler Johnson, maybe not like a stud at the NFL level, didn't go as high as we thought he might in the draft, but I think he's like a NFL quality player that he's playing alongside and was still putting up a ton of numbers. So some of the other guys, it's gonna be a little bit harder to gauge them because they're like more like 1 year wonders, and that 1 year was 2020. But Bateman really does. He's got NFL size. He's 6'2", 210. I think there's a good chance he could be a first-round pick. So getting him,
he goes in the 9th round or the 8th round. I think we did a really good job of getting guys that are going to go higher. I don't even think like Mike Williams wasn't like a huge target. We stacked him with Herbert, but I don't think he's going to go in the 14th. I don't think McKissick's going to go in the 15th. We talked about this. He got 80 balls. Like, who knows? He was definitely a late bloomer in terms of being productive at the NFL level, but like you don't have a lot of running backs that see 110 targets and catch 80 balls. That just doesn't happen. That kind of guy usually the next season goes in like the 6th round. So in PPR league. So I maybe not for McKissick, but I don't think he'll go in the 15th. I think he'll go in the 9th or the 10th.
And he's under contract.
Yeah. So a ton of these guys, I think that's true for, honestly. Like Sutton is going to go in the 4th in August. I believe that pretty strongly. So anyway, I feel like we did a really good job with that. The best part, though, is our tight end strategy, because we can call this team Kittles and Pitts.
Which one of you was that, Gretch? Did that dawn on you? Or you?
Yeah, that dawned on me. That's going to be a popular team name this year.
I love it. So right here, I just want to make sure we get out in front of this. Ship Chasing, brought to you by Ben Gretch. Trademarks the Kittle and Pitts tight end strategy. You load up on Kittle early, you grab Pitts late. Kittle and Pitts, don't forget where you heard it first, because other people will try. And I will pull up this clip and I will say you owe us royalties.
Yeah.
You owe us top shots. We got Eric here saying he loves the Herbert value. Am I crazy? Like, how is Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow going ahead of Justin Herbert? That seems crazy to me.
He won't anymore. All the quotes and stuff about them being up-tempo, and the coaching staff now looks like it's going to be pretty good. So yeah. I don't think he will now. He's
the clear QB8 now. We just did this last week, and I wasn't as stoked. Pat, he's always been your guy, and you were on him, and I took a little smoothing to get down with this pick. But Rodgers is another one that you can make a case for. Well, now there's all these reports that he might not be back in Green Bay. I don't want to chase that. Yeah, I think he's there's a top 7 pretty clearly. You see up there, it's all the rushing guys. It's all the guys that were the top 7 all year, the high price DFS guys every week. And maybe even Herbert goes ahead of Russ. I don't know. Or Dak, who's coming back from a really significant injury. Like, I think Herbert's up in that group more than he is down where he is in this draft.
I don't do, QB second year projection leaps, but he was that good as a rookie. And then you get an even better coaching, staff in there. You get the second year leap. I I don't know what the knock is on Justin Herbert. I mean, the offense, are they losing any other of their skill position players to free agency, Pat?
No, I mean they have Mike Williams under the 5th-year option. They got Keenan Allen. They got Austin Eckler.
Hunter Henry, right? You already said that.
They're losing Hunter Henry, but they got Parham, so who cares?
Right.
Thank you, Levitan.
Elite tight end.
Yeah. Excuse me, but yeah, I think there was kind of this weird pocket of time where they had hired the Rams DC. You know, they didn't have an offensive coordinator in place yet, and it was sort of like, all right, are they going to be kind of conservative and kind of ground and pound? But I don't think it sounds that way at all. They sound like they're going to be really up tempo and focused on Herbert and building the offense around him. And Lombardi, right, is the OC, so that he's a Saints guy, and so just seems kind of bullish. What? Are you not into that?
No, it's both of you. You both have Top Shot brain. Like, you're both super sharp always, and you're like a little bit not engaged right now. You're struggling to come up with stuff to talk about.
No, I couldn't remember if the guy's name is Joe Lombardi, and I was like, for some reason I can't remember if that's his name. Is that his name?
Yes.
I won't try to deny it like Pat.
No, well, I think I do have a point, which is that
these are football players. They play a different sport.
Justin Herbert. Let me make my point. My point is that I think Justin Herbert's going to go higher, and rightfully so. But there was this period where the market was unsure about if they were going to be overly conservative with him, in the same way we're now worried about the Lions' offense kind of going back to the Stone Age, or the Seattle's offense. I was talking with Leone about this like 2-3 weeks ago. We did a pod on the quarterbacks, and we were saying that Justin Herbert is going to go in that same pocket as like Deshaun Watson and stuff. That's what our prediction was on ADP. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this was an anomaly, or do you think that we're going to be able to snag Herbert in like the 8th round?
I do, like, just really help me out. Why would you take Trevor Lawrence over Justin Herbert?
You wouldn't.
I get it over I get it over Ryan Tannehill. Like, you're taking a shot on the upside, but like Justin Herbert is what you hope in a million years Justin Herbert was, right?
Oh,
Did
no.
I just, what?
Oh no. At least you didn't call him an NBA player's name.
Did I just say Justin Herbert twice?
Yeah, you said Justin Herbert could be what we hope Justin Herbert was.
Trevor Lawrence is what people want Justin Herbert to be, and we've already seen Justin Herbert do that. Just let me make this point.
No, you guys are both right on. Actually, I think as I was
not
talking,
right on. We're
right on. Super sharp as a tax right now. As I was talking through it and saying he would be the clear QB8, I was kind of coming to that too when I said the Wilson and Dak thing. And I think you're right, Pat. Like, I didn't know you guys had talked about it and said maybe in that Watson group, but I don't think I would take him over Lamar or the top 3 here, but he might be the QB5 or Watson. Like, I mean, I think I would take him over Russ. Seattle seems to be recommitting to the run. I think I'd take him over Dak, whose leg injury was very serious. So I think we're in that QB6 range, actually. And that's what happened with Murray. Murray kept rising all last offseason. I think that'll happen with Herbert too.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't get quite that high, because then you have some tough decisions to make. Because with Russ, like, one thing to keep in mind with Russ is that he was a terrible coach. And so just getting him out of there and putting anyone else in, even if that guy is supposed to run more, is an improvement. So I really do think that just someone who's just a better offense coordinator than Brian Schottenheimer is bullish for Russ Wilson to an extent. Obviously, we are also hearing all sorts of stuff about how they're going to be moving away from the pass. But we've seen Russ Wilson in past seasons be very good in efficiency. He was going around this range in 2020 drafts. It looked like it was going to be a smash because they were going to finally let him cook. But even baking in the low volume, Russ historically has been a pretty solid quarterback because he's so efficient.
I want to get you guys' take on Nick's question here.
Where do you? God, no. I almost answered that in good faith.
I do have a question for you guys. So I when I was writing that newsletter today, I was looking up because I've been saying since the beginning, Stafford to Denver made a lot of sense, I thought. And it just
I'll be sick.
Feels like an Elway thing. And apparently that's the leader in Vegas right now. Denver is the most likely to land Stafford. So when I saw that, I was like, okay. Like, I didn't even know if the salaries worked or what. I haven't dug into all that yet. But we have Sutton on this team. And it feels like Sutton would be a really good new Galladay for Stafford. And with those weapons in that pass, I mean, like,
the backdoor your way into a great stack. That's how you know you're running hot.
How high would you guys be on Stafford at that point?
Be pretty nice.
Pretty high. He'd have such nice weapons there.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say Sutton is comparable to Galladay, but then he'd be getting. I don't know if it's that big, right? Because Hawkinson and Fant are comparable. He's getting an upgrade with Judy and Hamler, really the 2-3 spot, right?
Big upgrade.
Big upgrades on both. I think it's pretty significant to get to 4 legitimate weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you guys. Obviously, this is best ball, so the kind of structural decisions you make are different. Do you think if this was a regular draft, the QBs would have gone off the board here similarly? I mean, we're talking about the guy who took Trevor Lawrence. It looks like it was auto-drafted. He took Kyler Murray in the 4th, so maybe something funky was going on there. But I mean, based on our strategy this year for redraft, where we were prioritizing the Kyler Murrays and the Deshaun Watsons in this range, I mean, do you think Justin Herbert can hold here as a 7th, 8th round guy? Because that's a screaming buy in managed redraft leagues, in my opinion.
If anything, you'd expect the quarterbacks to go later in managed leagues.
I would definitely expect him to go later. There's no way, like, if you count up however many went through the 11th round, say, where there was 4 there, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 QBs had gone by the 11th round. There's no way that's going to happen in normal drafts.
Yeah.
So, Herbert could be an 8th rounder in that regard as the 6th quarterback off the board.
And we got Josh Allen in the 11th round of our main event draft with Crack Rock.
Yeah.
Not that that was not his ADP. He was going ahead of that normally. But I bet you'll see similar stuff this year where it's not best ball. You don't need to have at least 2. You will occasionally see one of these guys from like the Burrow, Herbert, Wilson kind of tier drop down into that 10th round range.
Yeah. And then the other thing, I think why we were all excited about this construction from a best ball standpoint, obviously getting George Kittle early frees you up. You don't have to draft 3 tight ends, because you really only need 1 more to pair with him. And then by also but grabbing Justin Herbert there, you don't have to grab 3 quarterbacks either. So I think we were all very excited to get to pound wide receiver there for a little while. And even with running back too, we set ourselves up to get to wait really long because we invested capital. I just feel like the way we approach this draft, it allowed us to grab best player available at almost every spot.
Yeah. It was kind of a hybrid approach of like zero running back or modified zero running back and hyper fragile, because we went with the 2 running backs right there. Then we waited a really long time, and then we took kind of classic zero running back targets at the end. So basically kind of a classic hyper fragile start, although normally you would go with 3. Then we backfilled with zero running back targets. And to make that work, we went just 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends, which I think is important because otherwise we'd probably be a little bit too thin at wide receiver. So I like the 2-2 approach with kind of a weird draft structure in some ways.
Yeah, and I'm personally completely fine going very fragile at quarterback and tight end when you invest capital in studs, and same with running back too. I mean, we invested in quarterback, running back, and tight end early, and then just hammered wide receivers here. Tell me who Terrence Marshall is. Tell me who Demetric Felton is.
There's not an N in his name. I just realized this while writing my
did I say Terrence? Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I wrote it in my article and I tried to Google him, and then I got it autocorrect.
Like Terrace House, Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Terrace House.
When was the last time you watched an episode of that?
I actually recently watched some Terrace House to show Brittany the in opening new doors, there's a whole plot line I wanted to show her where they kind of have the most famous Terrace House character comes back for like her third or fourth stint on the show, ends up hooking up with this dude. It's like probably the best part of any Terrace House.
So Pat and I both, unbeknownst to each other, got really into this Japanese reality TV show at the same time. And we were in Mexico last year, and I don't know how it came up, but we were like, wait, you're watching Terrace House? I'm watching Terrace House. And then we talked about Terrace House for like 3 days straight.
There's that period where you're like watching like a very niche, sort of bizarre reality TV show, and you have to like feel out the other person of like how deep into the show they are. And like every time I'd like be like, yeah, I'm kind of like watching a lot of it. Pete's like, I'm watching a lot of it. And we realized like, oh no, we're both very into Terrace House.
I learned though, Pat did have me beat because Pat was on the Terrace House Reddit message boards, and I was like, okay, I haven't gone that far.
Yeah, well, we had to pump up some stocks, you know?
Yeah, seriously.
I've never heard of this, but I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when you guys were were doing. Did we just become best friends from Step Brothers?
Yeah, it was a little bit.
Well, for my excuse was Lauren and I, we were going to Japan in March. Obviously, that got canceled because of coronavirus. So that was like part of our hype train buildup, was watching some of this Japanese reality show. But I would say the elevator pitch for it is so like mundane and so lacking of plot that every little thing means so much more. Like you will literally be watching that show and someone will roll their eyes in the background and you will lose your shit because that's how little is happening, but it's so meaningful with what they've set up with the characters and the tension. Maybe Pat has, this is now a Terrace House show, which at least it's not a Top Shot show. At least it's not a Top Shot show.
Yeah, that's something. No, Pete's got it right. It's like very mundane. But the funny thing about it is it's sort of secretly a dating show. And everyone's there kind of just to like be there, but they're there to try to meet someone and then go off the show. But the key thing about this, what makes the entire show worth watching, is that they cut away from the typical reality show to a panelist of 4 like Japanese comedians and kind of TV personalities who are like commenting on the show, like basically in their living room, and they're hilarious. And so you're kind of there. The show itself is almost fodder for the show within a show, which is really what you're there for.
The Texans have hired a head coach.
Yeah. So anyway, Dana was this character that
we're trying to get to the point where Ben says, you guys have Terrace House brain right now. I can tell.
So David Culley, I didn't know a lot about him. 65-year-old, assistant head coach, wide receivers coach, passing game coordinator for the Ravens, which they don't pass. Had never been more than a position coach at the NFL level, is now the head coach of the Texans as of like 15 minutes ago.
And where does Vegas have Deshaun Watson? His odds?
Not in Houston.
Because I would be so psyched about him to Denver. That'd be even cooler.
Yeah, but LA likes big-armed, prototypical QBs.
I guess, but Watson throws pretty good deep ball.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eric Blair is asking where Netflix is found. It's on Netflix, Terrace House.
Oh, it's so funny because I read that comment and I thought he was making a comment about this episode of Ship Chasing. Like, where is this show right now? But
he might be saying that, but I'm saying that if you want to watch Terrace House, it's on Netflix.
I mean, they seem to be liking it. Look at Nick's comment. He feels like he was a fly on the wall of what should have been a secret combo.
Originally was a secret combo.
It should have been. It was Pat and I in a hotel room staying up late talking about Terrace House together. As 2 grown men are known to do in Mexico City.
It was all before the Modildos.
Hey, there were no. Is that did you just coin that now? Because that's too good.
In your Discord, Siler set up an emoji.
No, I know.
But then he renamed it to Modildo. Someone else in the chat said Mod. I think it might have been Eric, actually. Yeah. I don't know if it was a typo or not, but someone said Modildo, and now that's what the emoji's called.
This is a very good point by Tom. It actually might be something. Terrace House is great because you can't be on your phone while watching. Obviously, it's subtitled. And how much TV now do you watch where you're checking your phone, you did this Top Shot sell, stuff like that. When you have your undivided attention.
You can't. Come on, man.
What?
Come on, man.
What are you talking about?
Why did you just drop that in there? You didn't have to mention it that time.
This is just a Terrace House and Top Shot show now.
I thought it was a good example to what Tom is saying. He's saying we're all distracted by things. And if you actually put down your phone for a second and you just don't worry about the Cool Cats challenge, you might
it makes it seem like it's a segue for you to start talking about Top Shots again.
He forgot this is a football show. He thought it was a Top Shot show again.
Oh, no. Anyway, Eric says he coined it, Modildo. So if you're going to use Modildo, give Eric credit.
If you use Kittle and Pitts, you got to credit Ben Gretsch. If you use Modildo, you got to credit Eric Belair.
Have you guys watched Money Heist?
I watched some of that. It gets increasingly insane.
Yeah.
I had a hard time
watching it yesterday, but it's already sort of kind of getting increasingly insane. I just thought of it when you're talking about subtitles because it's all duped. It's not subtitles, but it's just re-recorded in English, so their lips are moving.
You can watch it with subtitles if you want.
I'm sure. Okay, yeah, I'm sure that's an option.
Yeah, P likes that option because then he doesn't have to check Top Shots.
I haven't got a Spanish heist crime drama. The series traces 2 long-prepared heists led by the Professor, one of the Royal Mint of Spain. Did someone say mint? And one of the Bank of Spain.
I'm assuming. I'm laughing, just assuming that has to do with Top Shots.
It does.
I am not infected by the Top Shot disease. No,
you're lucky.
You've been intrigued, though, Ben.
I have. We chatted a little. I was asking some questions yesterday.
Ben's about 4 days away.
Ooh.
No, at this point, you don't want to get in at this point.
That's a good joke.
I think that is Rui was.
He's Japanese. And that was the buy I just got through for my Cool Cats challenge.
Come on, we're off the rails. All right.
You started off the rails.
All right, let's talk about Terrace Marshall.
We merged Top Shot and Terrace House 38 minutes into an episode of Ship Chasing.
By the way, someone talked about moment chasing earlier. Go ahead and search moment chasing on the Top Shots platform because you will find a showcase.
Pat, you were just saying that when this was too off the rails, and then you're talking about your moment chasing showcase.
Talking about showcases.
Hey, we're gonna get this far off the rails. I'm gonna plug my showcase.
Ben, yeah, all right. Ben, what were some of the other things you wrote about? I did read. I read every word.
I told you hours ago. I was like, I wrote this up, and then I could tell early on they're like, you guys have not read this. You've just been doing Top Shots for the last 5 hours. Trying to give you prep work so you had things to talk about.
Yeah, that was nice of you.
They wrote 5,000 words about the draft. That was going to be what we're going to talk about tonight.
It really held up his end. We looked at Top Shots.
Except for disease.
Anyway, Terrace Marshall is going to be pretty good, I think.
What has happened to us?
All right, some other things we talked about. I wrote about the Kittle pick in the first round. I think what's interesting about that, we talked a little bit about Saquon. I think, and we kind of agree, Pat, that Saquon will probably go top 5 later in the. Nobody who cares about football is still watching the show, by the way. So, we're going to get into, some good nuggets now, and no one's going to even listen to hear them. But Saquon, probably, if we were just doing it from the perspective of trying to get early offseason value, I think would have been the pick. because we can probably get Kittle at 7 or later all offseason, right?
100%. But the thing is with best ball that it just is so awesome to have the early round tight end.
Yeah.
It allows you to do so much with your structure, and historically it's been a huge advantage, not even in tight end premium, just in regular best ball leagues. It's been a huge advantage to have the early round tight end. In traditional leagues, you generally want to try to get the tight end in the second round if you can. But here with FFPC scoring, totally happy to get Kittle. But yeah.
Because we knew we were going to get Kittle or Waller coming back. Was a big part of that decision.
There was maybe the slightest chance we'd get Waller, but it didn't seem very likely.
What Pat is trying to say is he likes George Kittle, but he prefers him in best ball.
That is actually what I'm saying. But I mean, if this was a Mantis league, we'd take Barkley, I think.
Yeah, and I think it was also what I wrote about a little bit. Like, this is our first draft. We wanted to do it structurally. Like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting that when you're doing your very first draft, you kind of want to do it structurally in an intelligent way and this and that. But if we're mixing up exposures and doing a whole bunch of drafts, I think probably we'd land on Barkley more there, knowing that we can get Kittle exposure later in the offseason, right? I mean, I like this team a ton. I'm not trying to say I'm glad we took Kittle as well. This draft worked out really well, and I don't think it would have worked out as well if we didn't take Kittle. But I am wondering, maybe you still just take Kittle in that spot all offseason. It's just like an exposure question, I guess.
Well, one thing I think is interesting is like when you're drafting this far out, what you're trying to do changes from what you're trying to do in August and September. Like, we don't know where these players are going to be in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And things get really iffy at certain positions. And this is like the one time where, maybe the kind of the draft wide receivers later crew has their best argument, because the one spot where you can find some values later in the draft pretty consistently is wide receiver. You have a harder time doing it at tight end. Because, I mean, look at the tight ends that are going, after round 8's okay, but then it starts to get pretty iffy after that point. In main event drafts, tight end isn't really completely dried up until round 11 or so. So that position dries up quicker, and running back gets really iffy, by the 8th round.
Running back was I wrote about literally all of that, which you would have known if you had read it. But running back was
But isn't it better that I came to the same conclusion on my own? And I know that I really agree with you.
The listeners were like, I read this a few hours ago. Hines and McKissick were a part of a strategy as well, where we were looking at pass catching backs. Which, Pat, do you want to explain what?
I think it'll be right about that. I'm back. Okay. All right, fine. I'll explain why. It's probably worth it.
This is like taking me back to high school when I have like a oral exam that I didn't do the reading for. The teacher in the back is like, Peter, would you like to explain what you read in chapter 2?
Well, no, it is funny because most of this came from good conversations Pat and I had, and Pete chimed in on, in between Top Shots. Most of this draft was before Pat got into Top Shot, but Pete got was so before.
To give people just a little bit of a peek behind the curtain here, Ben and I were talking on Twitter DMs for like endless, just kind of back and forth. Although it was very enjoyable, but Pete was nowhere to be found. And then I would go to Google and like message Pete, and then he'd be like, "Yeah, cool, I'm cool with whoever you guys want. Mike Williams is there. We might want to think about him. All right, later."
I thought that was a good contribution.
That was.
It actually was. It was good.
That was your one pick of the whole draft.
Hang on. Well. I want to go back to a point, Pat. The taking Saquon Barkley over George Kittle, because to me, that argument would be if you think Saquon Barkley is so mispriced there and you think he should be a 3rd or 4th overall pick, then I agree with you.
That was the point I was trying to make. That's what I think is true.
Okay, you think he should be going
also
over. So
I called him top 5 and potentially as high as top 3 later in the summer.
All right, so we're going to end the show. Everyone goes and reads the article.
In fairness to Pete, the Top Shot site did not go down until just
gotta
about
wear
5
the
minutes
cap
before the
now,
show.
man. You didn't do the reading.
All right, let me take my shot on this running backs point and see how close I get to it. Then all right, so the thing with Nyheim Hines, in particular, is that not only do you get the issue with pass catching running backs, which is that those spike weeks don't necessarily show up exactly when you think they will. They're harder to start, and I think those kind of pure satellite running backs are better suited for best ball than people realize. But Nyheim Hines also scores a few touchdowns throughout the year. So those get slotted into your starting lineup. And then with J.D. McKissic, obviously just very heavily used in the passing game, but we figured we could basically capture the entire Washington backfield because in games where Antonio Gibson gets scripted out, we probably do have J.D. McKissic just getting like the 12 targets in those games. So it's not really a handcuff exactly because it's more that we're just kind of banking on McKissic to get slotted in for a couple weeks. And who knows, maybe they both get slotted in if the kind of the game environment is high volume enough.
Very well done. very well done. A for you.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Ben, give me a quiz. Give me a quiz.
You weren't even here for the discussions the first time around. That was at least a part of them. No, but yeah, we said there were kind of three main things for people who haven't read it or aren't big readers. There's three main things that we like about the.
Is that us?
Yeah. No, you guys read. You've just been in a hole for the last week.
Yeah.
There's three main things. You said and we talked about this in the DMs, Pat. You already noted like the spike week potential is more likely, but also we love the cost. And then I think there's some advantage compared to other backs late, knowing that. We kind of agreed on this, but we don't know it for sure. But it seems like they have more defined roles. They don't have the potential for 250 touch role, but they do. Like Nyheim Hines is going to have a role in that backfield. J.D. McKissic, we assume is going to be back with Washington. He's under contract, but even if he's not, he's probably going to be in a pass catching role somewhere and putting up some type of stats, right? Like, and Cohen was the other one we were looking at. Cohen's going to play when healthy and be a part of that offense and catch passes. Some of these other backs might get stuck into number two role and not actually play a whole lot. And there's a lot of uncertainty with all the late backs, right? But there's a little bit of a boost, I think, because they're sort of role dependent, that you can take them in these early offseason drafts and know that they're probably going to be in that role in August.
Yeah, people don't like them because they can't imagine them having a huge ceiling, which is correct. Like they're not going to be league winners in the sense of like managed league picks that, you're going to be slotting your starting lineup every week. But if you build your team the way we built it, they're perfect because you're already making huge bets on DeAndre Swift and Antonio Gibson. And so you just need some guys to kind of fill in. Like Gus Edwards is another guy where it's like, he's going to probably have like 4 games where he scores a touchdown, and that's all we need. Hopefully those coming weeks where we need him to slot into the lineup. So it's more about like where the value is in these rounds right now. And, Mark Ingram goes in the 15th round. Mark Ingram might be like out of the league or, some gross backup situation. Maybe it's possible that, he gets kind of like Carlos Hyde and he's kind of unexpectedly the lead back somewhere, but he's currently does not know who he's going to play for. Like it gets really gross around this range. Le'Veon Bell, who knows where he's going to be. So Jerick McKinnon was not brought back. So you just look around this range and getting guys who have solid roles that are going to have weeks where they're slotted into your lineup. Like there's a very, very high chance of that happening is pretty strong value.
What do you think, Pete?
Hassan has a good question here about Armin. Is he the guy living the dream that all of us should be aspiring to? My man spends his time living in Hawaii, surfing, and then traveling to Tokyo. We'll go to Ben on this one.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I want to do that. I want to be in Hawaii. I've been sitting in my house for a friggin' year.
Well, that's what this is what happened to me when I was watching Terrace House. I was, reading my Murakami, all this stuff. And then I didn't want to have anything to do with Japan because I couldn't go there and it was too painful to dredge up those memories. We need a ship chasing trip. We need it. Ship chasing cruise.
We should say Chris was in this draft with us here.
Yeah.
He was pointing out that the 12 team has a nice team. It does have a nice team. And news today is that Malcolm Brown not looking like he's going to be back. So Darrell Henderson is someone that I do think has a pretty nice role as the pass catching back.
Look at Zach Moss at 1201. That's a real good pick. But Henderson is a good point as well. He did well for taking those guys as his first backs.
Chris, we taught you well. You started as an FFPC grinder.
We actually
into a 0 RB tree.
We talked about how much we liked how that was coming together during the draft, but Pat had to get a note in about those tight ends in there. Remember that, Pat?
Oh yeah. Well, your tight ends are disgusting, Chris. I don't know what you're doing there, but other than that, it's pretty solid draft.
Pat just hates Mike Gesicki.
I mean, Mike Gesicki's not. You know,
we talk about grinder. The team out of the 2-hole might be one of the most FFPC grinder teams I've ever seen. 4 running backs in the first 5 rounds. TJ Hawkinson, Robert Tonyan in the first 8 rounds, and his first wide receiver, Devonta Smith. Like, that's the most grinder start you can have.
That's very true.
Also got Judy and Antonio Brown later.
Yes, the Antonio Brown is the final bingo there.
Yeah, and guys like Sterling Shepard are a little tough in best ball, right? Like, you're not getting a kind of spike week ceiling out of those guys. Jamison Crowder, I guess, had some decent spike weeks, but
yeah, I agree with that for sure. Pat, what about the other thing I talked about at the end of the article that I wrote and gave you a nice compliment in was how funny it was that we at the end were like, we just want some rookies that we've never heard of, me and Pete, who haven't really done our rookie research at all, and you came through with a couple. I shared some of our DMs even. I thought you guys might find that was funny, but you know,
I will find it when I read it later.
You want to know how I can prove that I scrolled the article? You tried to say ditto and you said like Dorito or something instead.
I scrolled it. No, but talk about Felton, man, because he's been all over Twitter over the last few days.
Should we watch Felton highlights?
Let's watch some Felton highlights. Felton's pretty interesting.
I did tell you guys what happened last time we watched highlights. I immediately got hit with all of the YouTube takedown notices. I say we let it rip.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, we don't get the $6 in ad revenue. I'll Venmo you guys $3 each because I want to watch Felton highlights right now.
Let's do it.
Oh, here's an interesting thing with that running back combo we did with Gibson and McKissick. While you're pulling that up, I went over to the Rotoviz Best Ball Win Rate Explorer. Gibson and McKissick were only in 18 FFPC leagues together. Taylor and Hines were in 75. I thought this was kind of interesting. So the average win rate is 8.3%. That's 1 out of 12. It's a normal win rate. Taylor was at 11%. Hines was at 13.8%. They were both plus running backs in it. And so the duo together was at 20%. But then I thought about it more after I sent this out. And I wonder, just having 2 running backs that are plus picks, they might not even need to be correlated. You're probably going to have a higher win percentage.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of interesting, and it's also a small sample. They were only together in 75 leagues, but it is interesting. Taylor was, slightly positive, and Hines was even a little bit more because he was a later pick and had some real spike weeks that are great in best ball. But then the 75 teams that were together, 15 of them, 20% of them won their leagues. I want to look into that more because I think we might find, some interesting positive notes on that.
Well, I think at the very least, it's probably the case that at a certain point, you just don't necessarily want to like factor it in at all. Like if there's a running back on the board that is like a screaming value compared to what's available, take him. You know what I mean? Like maybe it doesn't matter at a certain price if you already took Gibson in the third round.
This dude's a running back?
Yeah, he's a converted wide receiver.
I was going to say he looks like a wide receiver.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You really...
He's Deebo Samuel.
We talked about this in the DMs, and I quoted them in the article.
Did you say he looks like that he's Deebo Samuel?
No, I didn't. But I did mention Deebo Samuel in the article.
Wow.
Oddly enough.
It's crazy how our group hive mind, comes.
The hive mind is actually a little concerning, given that we didn't read the article. So this is Demetric Felton, and he is a converted wide receiver. He was kind of used in like a hybrid role his junior year, and then he was basically like a full-time running back as a senior. Didn't even really get used that much as a pass-catching running back. Pretty interesting. He is probably going to be sub 200 pounds and probably sub 5'10", which is not ideal. So, kind of in that more of like a space back type of mold.
Look at him. He's quick.
But he's really quick, yeah.
Pete, I just sent you some Senior Bowl highlights that have been floating around Twitter just from the other day. That are sweet.
And one thing, if you're taking rookies this time of year, I think it's really important to factor in draft position because things can get really ugly for guys that look good on paper. Like I liked Antonio Gandy-Golden as a wide receiver prospect heading into the draft, right? But then the draft position isn't there for him. It's not like he wasn't drafted, but like getting into the second, third round is so key. And, so you want a guy who looks pretty locked in for the second round, ideally. And that's what it seems like Felton is. He seems pretty likely to go in the second or third round.
I mean, even if he goes in like the fourth or fifth, he profiles so much as a passing downs back, which is part of why we liked him. Again, getting back to the reasons we were targeting that type of back. But even if he goes in those rounds, those guys sometimes get an earlier shot. I feel like that, they're not just like a depth running back. They're drafted for a role. If he goes in the second or third as an undersized pass catching back, he's probably going to that's good.
That's really, I don't want to overstate. I don't want to overstate and say he's like definitely going to go in that range. But as I look at where people expect him to go, it seems pretty consistent that he's expected to go on day 2. And so his downside is probably capped. Like he's not going to fall into the 6th round most likely. And some of these other guys very well could, once you get past the obvious guys who are going to be the top picks.
I don't know. Who is the comp for this guy? Like who gets drafted as a running back that gets used as a receiver this much and is very successful right out of the gate?
Antonio Gibson did it last year. I mean, he didn't have this type of production in college, but he was a receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you worry it's maybe it's CJ Procise or, I guess you could say kind of a Tony Pollard-y type of guy. So the comps maybe aren't that exciting for immediate production, but you hope the larger guys do it quite well. David Johnson and Antonio Gibson would be the 2 converted guys that are big.
You hope he gets into a Hines or a Cohen type role, right away. Yeah, they were showing him running wide receiver routes, even though he is listed at running back. And some of the tape grinders were really liking this. They were quote tweeting it and saying how good he looked.
Let's see
he looks good.
I want to see what the film grinders are quote tweeting. It's nice to figure out what people in other pockets of the world are doing. The crazy head nod outside. Oh my God, hang on. This is good. The crazy head nod outside. Then the way he snaps his head back around, gets the corner's eyes looking in the wrong way, and gets himself a step and a half out of the break with just that tiny detail. This is pretty advanced stuff for a running back turned wide receiver.
Well, it's a wide receiver turned running back, which is helpful.
Steven's throwing some cold water on.
Yeah, he didn't like it. Look at that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Man, it's all the same.
It worked for Skirt Day. John Lynch is pretty good shade.
Now we got a CMC clone. There we're going. Now we're back on our Antonio Gibson comp. A bit slow out of the break, but like seriously, This dude's stock is gonna explode. From a man who named his Twitter account Pittman Sizzin.
That's pretty good. He's at Pittman Sizzin, by the way. That's not just his name.
Dude, I feel like I could read these all night. Trade Zeke, draft Felton, Super Bowl.
I like that.
Oh my God. I gotta find another good one. Let's see. And Graham is one twitched up cornerback. Wow.
Right,
Imagine having draft cornerback takes in January. It sounds incredible.
That's Trapasso. He's a CBS guy.
Oh.
Mild stomping grounds.
Yeah, I mean, any organization that lets Ben Gretsch go to ship chasing has made a grave mistake.
Here, Mike liked it.
Oh, Mike Renner. Screw the fact that he's an RB. These are high-level routes for a wide receiver, period. I was once on The Bachelor. I mean, like, you don't have to remind us of that at the end of every tweet. National team is short on RB today and Felton not getting reps there. Is that something from the Senior Bowl, how they named the team?
It must be a national team and an American team. And
so is the point then would be like they really want to see him at wide receiver? Or what's the...
It seems like they're saying that they don't trust him as a running back, at least the implication of that tweet.
Yeah.
Felton is cooking.
Which is fine. We took him super late as a running back, but if he's going to go play slot receiver, he's a running back classified on FFPC. That's nice.
Then it's Lynn Bowden.
Yeah.
All right. I've read. I will continue to read Film Grinder tweets throughout the offseason.
All right. Well, look up Terrace Marshall.
Terrence, you mean?
Yeah. I didn't even see any film of this guy. Is he good?
He looks pretty boom bust. So Justin Herzig was asking Mike Leone about him. They did a draft recently too, and they ended up drafting him. And so I was looking into him, and he looks pretty solid. I would say, again, the draft position looks pretty solid with this dude. It looks like he's probably going to be a day 2 pick, and he's out of LSU.
Are his numbers like? Is he Van Jefferson day 2 pick, or is he like
No, he's better than that. I think he's probably better than. I think he's probably pretty close to like what T. Higgins was as a prospect. Although T. Higgins had some really nice things in his profile, particularly with his yards per route run, which are off the charts. And so it was like the thing with T. Higgins was he didn't have the production we were looking for as an underclassman. But when he was on the field, he was absolutely dominant. So it was like, well, maybe they're just not playing him enough because they're on all these blowouts and stuff. And I think that's probably very likely the case. With Terrace Marshall, he also has that same red flag. But maybe, we don't have as much confidence in the same hypothesis with.
He didn't come from Clemson, so he doesn't have the same kind of asterisk that we can give Higgins.
Exactly. But he was pretty productive in 2020. He is a true underclassman, and so he profiles as kind of a classic boom bust second-round pick. And he's like 6'3", 200. So definitely, a little bit of like Justin Hunter concern, but, high ceiling, low floor.
Sorry, let me
get
top. No, it's Terrace.
The site's down, Ben, so I don't think that that Pete was on Top Shot. Oh no, Ben, the site's back up. Pete was on Top Shot just now.
No, Pat.
Looking up Terrace out.
We're watching Terrace highlights.
Oh, sorry. I was distracted because I was checking Top Shot.
I mean, this looks pretty good. I think he's promising.
Is this what is this, a new season? Oh no.
All roommate intros from all seasons 2019 through 2020.
Oh, so here's the other thing with Terrace House is that there's like 2 seasons that aren't available to American viewers. They're like
something else that I wrote in my my write-up this week is that we're going to be doing these every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. I'm sure people are just thrilled that this is our off-season schedule.
We'll do another best ball draft or something so that we can talk football for real.
All right, here's the football highlights. You guys want it? So this guy's a wide receiver that's converted to running back.
He was definitely looking at Top Shot.
I have not looked at Top Shot for at least 6 or 7 minutes.
I can't even tell if you're doing a bit. Are you doing a bit?
What do you mean?
Oh, the last guy was that. Pat just explained this guy is just a normal receiver.
I talked for like 3 minutes about this guy.
I was looking up Terrace House highlights. Okay, this is Hassan has logged in. He's logged in.
He's Australian or something.
Why do you not like Terrace Marshall? Is he Australian? Thanks, Pete.
That's for the ship chasing heads. The super fans will get that one.
Yeah,
Lou,
enjoying you.
I'm not distracted. Ask me a question. I dare you.
What about the newsletter? See how he does.
I could quote the newsletter verbatim. Hey guys, Ben Gretsch here. Looking for an off season filled with content. If you haven't upped your subscription to the $13.99 level, please do so now. Here's a link to Ship Chasing. Tonight, we'll be talking about our draft. We made a lot of smart decisions from both structural and player eval level decisions. First off, we started out with George Kittle because George Kittle gave us max optionality in this draft. Now, I know. We took multiple running backs after that. You might say the hashtag brand was tarnished, but hear me out. Here's why we did it. 10 bullet points. Number one.
It's not that far off. It's not that far off.
10 bullet points.
Oh, God.
All right, that's pretty good.
That got me deep.
I love your articles, Ben. I get to them 6 days later, but I love them.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh, Pat, look who showed up.
Oh, Barry.
Barry was saying some very toxic stuff in my LOL stream earlier. Barry has been kicked out of the Top Shot Discord, and now...
Which is like kind
it's
of
hard to do.
So, yeah.
It's hard to do.
Oh, man. Well,
Ben, I apologize. I sincerely apologize for what happened tonight. This is unprofessional.
When have we ever been professional?
This is.
I just wish I was drinking. I was like low on beer. I'm kind of taking it easy in January.
Have one of your beer gophers go fetch you one here.
I know I should, but I literally only have one beer left in my fridge, and I decided I didn't want just one beer.
Gretsch, do you want to do what Bales does with his Substack, where he has the guy do the audio version, but I do the audio version?
In that voice? Yes, I do.
oh my God. That's your what's the video you did, Pete, where you're like you turned around and you had the every podcast intro ever?
Oh yeah.
It's your
the
voice.
TikTok?
The TikTok, yeah.
TikTok. Remember TikTok?
That was something.
What, is it dead?
I mean, I'm not on it anymore, and some are saying it's kind of died ever so.
Sure.
People keep telling me I should be doing Top Shot content on TikTok. They're right, but that's a bridge too far.
It's because you're doing fleets now, isn't it?
I haven't been doing fleets. I mean, Top Shot.
Well, you're not doing anything but Top Shot. Yeah.
I need to do a fleet right now. You just reminded me. My fleet quota is so far down. What should I do a fleet about?
Trying to hit like a certain number of fleets?
Yeah, I normally try to hit 6 or 7 a week. No. What do you want me to do a fleet about?
You're the fleet master. I have never done a fleet.
I've literally never done a fleet, so.
All right. Hey everyone, doing a show with Ben Gretsch and Pat Crane right now, and they said that they miss my fleets, and so I'm doing this for them. Hope you guys enjoy it.
That was terrible.
That was great. that was good. That's it. How do you even? Does a fleet do well? Can you tell if a fleet?
Well, you can tell when a fleet doesn't do well because no one responds to it in the DMs.
Oh man! Wait, did we ever get an answer on why Hassan doesn't like Terrace Marshall?
No, he just came and threw out just kind of like the Australian thing. There was no explanation for it. He just hated
He's
people.
fucking up the Terrace House highlights.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it should give you nightmares. Do a fleet about where you talk about fantasy football, but then you slowly show your computer screen.
That's pretty funny. That's what I felt like this whole show was.
That's actually a pretty good fleet.
You know what sucks is like, I mean, I told you guys early on when we were figuring out, what's going to be our off-season plans. And I said to you guys, I was like, I need to take some time off. I need to take like a few weeks off.
Yeah. Well, you did.
Like, what the fuck? I need to do a full-on just reboot. I need to reboot everything in my brain.
Literally last Wednesday after the show, you were like, "You want to keep doing every Wednesday?" It was like, "Yeah, all right."
Well, that's the thing. We will be here.
This has been a long week. You guys, a lot has happened since we were last Wednesday.
People keep sending me gifts on Top Shot. I gotta see what I get.
Gifts? You getting the cards? I had a couple shit cards that I thought about it, but then I thought of something better.
I need that Derek Jones Jr. Pat.
Yeah, I'll get you that Derek Jones. Pete's trying to complete his Cool Cat set,
Yeah.
No, this is what happened. This is the bit. Some rando sent me a Fred Van Vliet, and I mentioned it on the show, so now everyone's sending me their Fred Van Vliet cards.
Is Tuttle still sending you cards?
No, I think he learned it's like sending someone Bitcoin back in 2012. Not a good strategy.
There's this bit from Arrested Development where, do you guys ever watch Arrested Development?
Yeah. I just rewatched it in the past 6 months.
Right. So Joe Bluth is like kind of the outcast black sheep brother on Arrested Development.
Yeah, we do character profiles of everyone on the show.
And so there's parts where he will kind of get himself in a tough situation, usually with like a woman he maybe doesn't want to be dating or something, and now he's doubled down on dating her. And he'll just kind of stare into the distance, and Hello Darkness, My Old Friend is playing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ben was deep in a Hello Darkness, My Old Friend just now.
I was trying to figure out what Hassan was saying about Terrace.
No.
Was I doing that? I've made a huge mistake. Is that what you're saying?
Ben, enough's enough.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, Pat, don't you think it's an issue that Ben's not as present for these episodes as we really need him to be? It feels like he's just so distracted.
Yeah, it's because he hasn't done the legwork, which was Top Shot this week.
People act like I'm in deep. Pat has spent way more money than I have.
That's true. But I don't have a new podcast about Top Shot. I wasn't doing 2 hours of content where I was literally screaming into a microphone with my shirt off about fucking card pack openings. So I would say you are a little bit.
They're moments, bro. They're moments.
Yeah.
You said you just turned into a Top Shot thought leader. You're just always going to be a new thought leader, man.
That's what happened to me last year. I literally said I was taking the XFL off, and Ian Hardett sent me one tweet, and he's like, pretty surprised I haven't seen any XFL content from you yet. And I was like, well, fuck you. Let's go.
That's really great.
All right.
Wait.
What?
I actually want Hassan's clarification, but since he's not here, I'm going to ask Pat. Hassan says Terrace Marshall probably needs to be recoded in the box score scout. We've got him in there as a wide receiver, so his production looks poor. Is he actually a converted running back? Was Pete onto something before us on this? Was he?
Oh my God, Pat.
I'm not gonna be able to recover.
Oh my God. If you
No, he's just a receiver. He never had a rush attempt his entire career. That was just a joke.
Dude, Pee Wee football, that kid was taking jet sweeps to the house.
That was
You don't understand how nervous I was.
I could tell the look in your eyes was like your Bitcoin transfer to Dapper wasn't confirming. That's how
it's like I said it wrong. Oh God. Yeah. If we're gonna do, you want to do one last highlight for the world? Did we do Seth Williams last week? I think we did.
What?
I'm very intrigued by him.
Apparently, I need to watch the Top Shot content because you got Chris in here in the chat talking about how you were so into it, the other guys wouldn't even get out of their chair. Like, so there was a show where Pete was ripping his shirt off, running around, and everyone else was just sitting there like I've been sitting there.
Yes.
Pat, which highlight am I pulling up here?
Did we do set? Did we talk
your shirt off
last week?
Oh wait, sorry. This is Top Shot.
I can't remember if we talked about him off show or if we talked about him on the show. But Seth Williams is
just pulled up Top Shot.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Seth Williams, the wide receiver that was a converted offensive lineman.
Let's watch some Jamar Chase and get out of here. You know what? Let's watch some Rashad Bateman.
We watched Rashad Bateman last week, Pat. Were you distracted during that show? We watched Rashad Bateman highlights for like 19 minutes.
No, I can't remember anything that
The
happened.
problem is you guys can't remember back this far. You've just been in Top Shot. Your brain's fried.
It's not even a joke. Ben is completely right. My brain has never felt more broken.
That's when I first brought it up when Pat was like making some points about our draft. I was like, he's reanalyzing our draft like he wasn't there for the discussions. It was hilarious.
Yeah, you're right.
He doesn't remember this at all. That's what 100%. I was thinking in my head.
100%. You're 100% right.
He's been in Top Shot land for the last week. I mean, I get it. I've done that. I've gone off and done something else and then gone back. Wait, I did this last week. What was I thinking?
There's people who like listen to the show and think that it's a repeat from last week.
They were like excited to come on and see how our team turned out, and you guys have just a year has passed since then for you guys.
I remember. It's hard to remember, but I do remember being excited about how this team turned out at the time.
Yeah, it's a good team. It's a good team.
If that's true, Nick, that's very interesting for his Cool Cats value.
I can't. I think I might have to hang up my Top Shot Spurs, dude.
What happened to us, man? Ben, I barely even know you
I'm
anymore.
bringing a bottle of something next time. I'm just going to be fucking hammered. If we're going to...
All the people coming over from Ben's Substack and being like, what the fuck?
I promised them so much top level stuff. I told them, you know how I closed it? Here's let's see how I closed it.
And can you read us the article to close out?
2,000 people have read this already since I sent it out a couple hours ago. And I said, I showed what Pat said, and I said it pays to have smart friends. Of course, you can come hang out during the live stream tonight to catch more of what Pat and Pete thought about this draft. Catch you then.
Oh no! I'm sorry, I let those people down.
All those people have left a long time ago. The only ones that are still here are the ones that like you guys.
Sorry,
all right. Please subscribe to the channel.
Smash that like button.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Well, we were smart. It pays to have friends who were smart, right?
All right. For Pat Crane, for Ben Gretsch, thank you guys for tuning in to Ship Chasing. We love you. Future episodes will be better.